Your dog has been at the door for 3 hours, not pacing, not destroying furniture, not performing distress for an audience, simply positioned, body oriented toward the exact point where you disappeared, running a biological process so automatic, so deeply embedded in its nervous system that it operates entirely outside conscious control. Most people see this and feel one thing: touched. What they're actually looking at is something far more precise than devotion, a neurologically compelled anticipatory state that cannot distinguish between 10 minutes and 10 hours, because it was never designed to measure time the way a clock does. The waiting isn't chosen. It can't be switched off. And understanding what's actually driving it will change how you see your dog completely. The dominant interpretation is loyalty. Your dog waits at the door because it loves you, a conscious, emotionally driven choice made visible in posture and patience. Most owners feel quietly flattered by this image. Some feel guilt. Almost all of them are misreading it. Loyalty is a human concept. What you're observing is a biological mechanism your dog has no conscious access to. The waiting isn't a decision. It is triggered, and the architecture that triggers it has nothing to do with choice. Here's what's actually happening. Your dog's brain has constructed a predictive behavioral model of your return. That model, once activated at the moment of your departure, generates a continuous anticipatory state that the nervous system cannot simply stand down from. Research from the Horowitz Dog Cognition Lab at Barnard College offers one of the more precise explanations for how dogs orient this anticipation across time: olfactory cue degradation. Your scent, present in the environment, fades at a measurable rate after you leave. Dogs appear to use that chemical signal as a time estimation mechanism, orienting return anticipation behavior toward the window when your scent approaches its baseline absence threshold. Your dog isn't counting hours. It is tracking a molecular signal that tells it you are almost back. That's not loyalty. That's a navigational system pointed at you. The behavioral sequence that follows your departure is documented and consistent. In the first 30 minutes, a cortisol spike, an orienting response toward the exit point, active scanning, often vocalization attempts. After the 30-minute mark, most dogs shift into what veterinary neuroscience describes as vigilant rest, a physiologically distinct state from normal sleep. Heart rate remains elevated. Positional orientation toward the door is maintained. The arousal threshold drops dramatically, meaning any sound in the environment pulls the dog back to alertness in milliseconds. Beyond 2 hours, the dog enters what researchers describe as a suspended anticipatory loop. Normal exploratory behavior suppresses. The entire behavioral system subordinates itself to one function: return detection. This state is metabolically costly. Waiting is not passive. It is one of the most physiologically demanding sustained states a dog can occupy, burning through stress regulation resources with the quiet efficiency of a machine that cannot be powered down. Here is where the research becomes genuinely difficult to explain away. Multiple observation studies, including controlled work building on Dr. Rupert Sheldrake's initial documentation, have recorded that dogs frequently begin orienting toward the door within a statistically significant window before the owner's arrival, before any sound, scent, or visual cue is physically possible. The more scientifically grounded interpretation isn't paranormal. Your dog has built a predictive return model so precise that it incorporates your routine patterns, the rhythm of the household, micro-contextual cues in the environment that human observers cannot isolate. The model predicts your return with enough accuracy that the dog's behavior shifts before you have turned onto your street. You are being anticipated, not waited for, anticipated. There is a critical clinical distinction that most owners miss entirely. Secure anticipatory waiting looks like this. A well-attached dog enters vigilant rest, remains able to self-regulate, can eat if food is available, and sustains a low arousal holding pattern until return. This is a physiologically efficient process. The dog waits, but it manages the wait. Separation distress waiting is structurally different. The dog cannot disengage from the exit point. It refuses food. Vocalization is sustained, not intermittent. Destructive behavior appears as displacement activity, not boredom, but a nervous system in overflow using physical action to discharge what it cannot regulate. When this dog reaches reunion, it is already neurologically depleted. It didn't wait through the absence. It burned through itself during it. The difference is not intensity of love. It is the dog's capacity for physiological self-regulation in the face of an unresolvable anticipatory state. The waiting behavior itself is built and maintained through one of the most powerful reinforcement histories possible. Every single departure you have ever made has ended in a return. Not most of them, all of them. The dog has never once experienced an absence that did not resolve. Apply partial reinforcement theory. Returns are unpredictable in timing but 100% reliable in occurrence. Behavioral science identifies this pattern. Variable ratio reinforcement as the most extinction-resistant conditioning schedule known. The waiting cannot stop because stopping it would require something the dog has never once encountered, an absence with no return. That experience doesn't exist in your dog's behavioral history. So the waiting continues, every time, with full neurological commitment. The assumption most owners carry is that duration determines distress, that 8 hours of absence causes more suffering than 2. The research doesn't support this. Studies from Stockholm University examining canine separation behavior found that the primary variable is not duration but predictability. Dogs with consistent, structured departure and return routines showed measurably lower cortisol profiles during absence than dogs whose owners kept irregular schedules. Even when the total hours of absence were identical, the dog doesn't suffer from how long you're gone. It suffers from not knowing the shape of the absence. Unpredictability is the stressor. Duration is secondary. Your departure and return behavior is the most powerful variable shaping everything that happens in between. Owners who perform elaborate goodbye rituals, prolonged physical contact, anxious vocal reassurance, emotional escalation at the door, prime the dog's stress response system before the absence even begins. The departure becomes a cortisol trigger rather than a neutral transition. Owners who return to exuberant, high-arousal reunions are, without intending to, reinforcing the peak anxiety state rather than the calm waiting state. The neurological association being built is the owner returns to arousal, not the owner returns to arousal, not the owner returns to regulation. Veterinary behavioral research is consistent on this point. The emotional temperature of departures and returns directly determines the physiological cost of everything that happens between them. You are training the waiting whether you know it or not. 2 persistent misconceptions deserve direct correction. The first, getting a second dog resolves waiting behavior. Research published in Applied Animal Behavior Science is precise on this point. Separation distress is owner-specific, not company-specific. A second dog reduces boredom-related, destructive behavior, but it does not measurably reduce cortisol elevation or return anticipation in dogs with genuine attachment-based waiting. The dog is not waiting for company. It is waiting for a specific neurological target, you, and no other animal substitutes for that. The second, the waiting is a sign of insecurity or poor training. It is neither. It is the measurable output of a deeply conditioned predictive system combined with an object permanence capacity sophisticated enough to maintain a persistent mental representation of an absent attachment figure. Research from the University of Lincoln's Animal Behavior Cognition Unit confirmed that dogs hold detailed cognitive models of their absent owners. Not vague impressions, but functional representations that actively drive behavior. Your dog knows you exist beyond that door. It simply has no mechanism for understanding why you haven't come back yet. The neurological substrate beneath this behavior is now measurable. Dr. Gregory Burns' fMRI research at Emory University documented that owner-associated stimuli activate the caudate nucleus, the brain's reward anticipation center, more powerfully than food stimuli in securely attached dogs. The waiting state is not emotionally neutral. Patience. It is a sustained dopaminergic craving state, with neurological parallels to anticipatory reward behavior in mammals. Your dog at the door is not resting. Its brain is in active pursuit mode, suspended at the threshold it cannot cross. 3 evidence-based adjustments reduce the physiological cost of waiting without dismantling its attachment foundation. First, neutralize the departure ritual. Pick up your keys without leaving, exit through different doors, eliminate prolonged goodbye contact. Research documents cortisol normalization within 10 to 14 days of consistent neutral departures. You are retraining what departure means neurologically, from threat activation to neutral transition. Second, build predictability architecture. Even approximate schedule regularity, consistent departure and return windows, not rigid to the minute, measurably reduces anticipatory stress duration. The dog's predictive model becomes more accurate, which reduces the gap between expectation and reality. Third, manage the return threshold. Delay high arousal reunion interaction until the dog displays calm behavior. Reinforce regulation, not escalation. You are not withholding affection. You are retraining which behavioral state your return rewards. Over time, the association shifts, the owner returns, and calm is what follows. For 15,000 years, the dogs that survived and bonded most successfully with humans were the ones whose nervous systems organized themselves most completely around human presence, sharpening the predictive models, deepening the attachment circuitry, refining the chemical return detection. The waiting at the door isn't a behavioral quirk or a touching inconvenience. It is the direct output of 15 millennia of neurological refinement pointed at one thing: you. The real question this raises isn't why does your dog wait? It's whether you have ever fully understood the biological scale of what that waiting actually costs, and what it means that your dog pays it every single time without exception. Has anyone ever come home to find your dog exactly where you left them, at the door, in the same spot, as if they never moved? How long had you been gone, and what did they do the moment you walked in? Tell me below. And if you want to understand what's actually happening inside a dog's mind in the moments before you leave, the signals they're reading, the predictions they're already building, that's exactly what the next video covers.